Oh, Paul. I see him at work all the time. I say, Paul, we can't hang out. Paul, we can't hang out. Yeah, last time we hung out, Bill took my captain away.
I'm sorry.
You know what it's time for? It's time for the Chill Zone, brought to you by Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Visit CoorsLight.com/GWN and celebrate responsibly.
It's pretty cool how you open it with one hand like that. Cheers, Bubba.
You never done that?
My dexterity, not quite that good.
I don't know.
I'm a two-hander.
That's like, I don't know. That just feels white trash to me. You just be like,
Nah, it feels like that's like your little Texan guy coming out. You just reach over, grab you, cord.
I think that was like how one of like my uncle's friends used to open the beer.
He was the man.
No, he was a complete degenerate.
Sounds like my kind of guy.
Yeah, I think we were at like my grandma's trailers. Let's get into this though.
Since this episode was all about the Celtics, and there's this great bond between athletes, especially in Boston, we want to pull back the curtain a little bit and talk to you, Jules, about what it's like to hang out with other pro athletes from other sports, within your sport, around the league, just everywhere, and that kind of bond you guys have when you yourself are a pro athlete, how those friendships are made, how they're maintained, just kind of get a sense of how it is. Because, you know, as a fan, you wonder, like, is that guy really buds with that guy? Is that guy, you know, like, and I think it's especially cool in Boston. So
yeah, you know, early in my career, I would see Veritech at a lot of like charity events, Buckholz. I never really saw Pedroia. I always wanted to. I mean, I used his bat in batting practice.
Laser
show. So that was like my Red Sox, and then I used to hang out with what's his name,
Gabe Napoli,
Mike Napoli.
Mike.
You know, we used to like. It's in those days we would see each other at local bars. That's when Daisy Buchanan's was still around, and that was like
legendary spot.
That was a legendary spot, and so you would see a lot of guys there. And then we go to, I remember going to like this Chinese restaurant after hours, and I would see Baby Davis and a lot of the Celtics there.
Lynn Davis, baby, big baby.
You'd go there, and I'm not going to say the name of the establishment, but all you had to do is ask for cold tea, and they give you a bucket of beer after 2. So like that's where I would see a lot of this.
So hold on. So you're at the club, you're at a bar, you're at something, and you see like the Celtics guys over there. How does that like? Does someone go up? Do you like guys recognize each other? Like is it just like a head nod, or like how does that actually go down?
It depends, because like I was still young then. I became closer with like I met Jaylen Brown a few times, and he came and hang out. We hung out a couple times, and the newer Celtics, the older one, I was still too young in my prime, and I didn't live in the city yet. So that was early on in my career where I would come into the city. When I moved to the city, that's when I started hanging out more, like Nap and, you know, a couple of the Celtics. I would see them. I went and spent time with them at their facility, so I got to know them a little. I hung out with the Bruins when we were young, Segs, Thornton. I would see Milan. We would have beer chugging contests at DeMonica's. Anytime Luch was around, it was just like we were chugging beers.
How'd you meet those guys?
You know, it always happened at like either a charity event or at local establishments. You go to Southie, you'd see some of the Bruins out. And then nowadays it's simply because of social.
Yeah, that
you
makes
know
it.
I mean, now we both follow each other and something. You comment on a story, they comment on one of yours, and that's how you stay in touch.
Yeah.
So that's like the cool thing about it. You know, you can still stay in touch with guys via social without even having to talk to them. But like athlete friendship is also different friendship. Like I haven't seen, you know, example, I go to Cardonia's wedding. I haven't seen Ryan Allen in 7 years since he left. And you know, we see each other. It's like we haven't not seen each other for 7 years. Didn't miss a beat. And it's like that because you understand when you're a professional athlete that like your life is pretty much predicated around your sports schedule. And the times that you do cross paths with other guys, you enjoy those times, but you sometimes you just don't have time to like, hey man, what are you doing here or there or that, you know? So You know, and then Celtics games. You go to Celtics games, and there'd always be. I used to go to. I think I went to a Celtics game with Brad Mershon once with Dooley.
Cool.
Heck yeah.
Same as
Marshy.
Gronk. Gronk used to go a lot with them. You would see some of the Celtics, or you would see all the Celtics. You would see some of the Red Sox.
If you're going to, like, let's say you're going to a Celtics game with whoever, are you interacting with the Celtics like after or before, or like because if the Celtics, we know there's a Patriots guy, you connect, or is it
more
like
of just this?
On the
It's a head nod. I know they're working.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when, you know, you had people at the game and, you know, like this is their job. You know, I'll like, what's up? Adapt maybe. You know, maybe a inner joke with Jalen.
I love when JB comes, daps you up, give you the hug.
How does that work
courtside
when you were a football player? Because the field is so far removed from the state. Like, are you ever noticing guys that are in town?
You
or
would
are
see,
people there?
you know what? You would see, because like after teams would win, they would come and we'd had cool, like they would wear like a Patriot jersey or a Boston Celtics jersey or a Bruins jersey. Like there's a lot of those types of things where you would go to their games. We dropped pucks, we threw first pitches, and they would come to our games to be honored before the game or at halftime or something like that. And it's different. I was never like a key kind of guy before a game. Like, hey,
like that.
Kiki, hey, you know.
Yeah.
Tummy sticks.
buddy.
Yeah, we weren't doing that. I wasn't, at least. I would give a head nod or something, but I had to like mentally put myself in a different place to go out and perform. Like I didn't, like even McAfee talks about it. Like when I used to like look at the other punters, I was trying to intimidate them. Like I would go right next to them and like watch them. I loved like the pregame psychological battles, you know, like, or like looking at a DB a certain way. Like I played with some of those. Fuck that. Not today. You know what I mean? That's how I saw guys do it. That's how I was kind of told to approach it. And that's how I developed it. But getting back to other athletes, you know, we were talking with Joe. It's pretty cool to get to play for this city. Like it's insanely cool to get to play for Boston and have this part of your identity, because it's such a huge pivotal sport identity. Like this could be like, you know, New York's a big market, this, that, but like this is a huge, crazy, like pro sport town where they've all got to taste success while all being good.
Now, is there a bit like of a sibling rivalry between the sports in a city like Boston? Like, oh, they won a championship more recent than us, we got to go out and do it. Like, is there anything of that? Friendly.
It was never like, fuck them.
Yeah.
They won a chip. It was more like, hey,
motivation.
Fucking Bruins just won one. Let's go get one.
Now it's our time.
You know, now it's our time. I saw that damn parade. It looked pretty damn fun. Because, you know, the Bruins won right before we won.
Yeah.
I think it was 11 or 12.
11.
And then 3 years later, we won our first, really, and the first in 10 years for the Patriots. So people were kind of forgetting about us. You know, the Red Sox were going.
Had a couple. Yep.
You know what I mean? And then the Celts had 08. So like there is a time where it's a motivation factor that everyone had one except us, as in the Patriots, and even the Patriots before our time had one. So individually for that like era team, it was like, yo, I'm sick and tired of hearing about these fucking old Patriots. I'm sick and tired of hearing about we're the only ones without a chip. Like that's the kind of shit how I used it, at least. I can't speak for everyone.
So taking it outside of Boston, you kind of mentioned it slightly earlier. How do you like meet other players in the league if you didn't ever like play with them or like be in high school with them or college with them? How do you meet those guys?
Early in my career, it'd be like word of mouth type stuff.
Teammate of a teammate.
Now social media, but I remember early in my career, you know, Larry Fitzgerald used to hold this camp in the off season for receivers. It was like one of the first, like, you know, there's tight end university. Larry was doing that kind of stuff, you know, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, where, you know, a bunch of receivers would go there, big name guys. And then, you know, I was going into like my second or third year, and I got Charlie Fry used to go throw with them. So I asked Charlie if I go, and Larry said, no problem, come. And so like we went and had like a training seminar for like a week together where I went and trained, we'd run routes. And like, yeah, that was just word of mouth. that was through a teammate. Now it's really easy. Just all you got to do is tap in. You can get to anyone, and say, man, hey, love your game, or something like that.
Are there any like off-season like congregation points? Like, oh, a lot of guys go to LA to train, or a lot of guys go to like Arizona to train, and that's where you
so a lot of there's like usually there's like 5 hubs. Early, back in my day, it was like Arizona. Like in the off season, guys would chase the sun, want to be able to train and work out in sun or in their hometowns. A lot of guys come from the South. A lot of guys come from South Florida. So South Florida was a big one. The Tampa, there was like training facilities there. It was like the APIs, the EXOSs, and there's these other ones that were coming. They'd be South Florida. There'd be one in Texas. There'd be guys that go to Texas somewhere, either Austin or Houston or Dallas. There'd be a group of people in Scottsdale. That's where Larry was. So that's where I flew out to do that receiver camp. And then there was California group, which was usually like LA. There'd be usually guys in LA. You get a lot of like transplant guys that would come in for, 3 or 4 days. When I was training at API that turned into EXOS, I would train there for like 3 months, but there'd always be new guys in and out because they do a commercial in LA, but they still need to get their workouts in. So they'd come to API, get their workout in and we jump into groups and then we would train. And that was like some of the coolest stuff about the off season is when I would train, and there'd be a group of guys, TJ Ward. And I remember training a lot with him at EXOS because he was an LA guy. That's how me and Amendola met, training in LA.
So that was before you guys were teammates?
Before we were teammates, so we started training together. There was a group of guys.
That's pretty cool.
You would go to UCLA and there'd be a group of receivers and coaches out, or not coaches, receivers and quarterbacks. They're like coaches. They would run it and we'd, run routes. And that was like a way to A, compete, B, look at how other guys train, C, like steal techniques and look at like movements. Cause like we didn't have Instagram like what it was now, or TikTok on what it is now, or you could see how everyone trains. Like we would all like congregate to like UCLA, use their practice fields. There'd be a group of guys. I remember Odell would come out. There'd be those group of guys. TJ Hushmanzada used to come out.
Like Illy, let's go.
So like you'd always have these guys, the LA guys, and then there would be transplant guys that were here for training, and then everyone would go there and run routes. And I loved that stuff. And then also, I came out here, I went to LA because that's where Tom lived at the time and he trained. And so we would go to his quarterback coach, Tom House. And I developed such a relationship with him that even when Tom was gone, I would go to Tom House because he always had pro arms. Like I would throw with like Matt Stafford. I would throw with Jared Goff. I would throw a lot with like Matt Castle. I threw with Carson Palmer a bunch because he was in LA, but that was a different group. But like I would go to where the arms were, the NFL arms, because I wanted to catch live balls. I wanted to catch balls from guys that were throwing an NFL ball. Jugs machine's great, and that's great for like strengthening your hands, but the ball comes out differently when you're running full speed and it's coming off a live arm. And that ultimately for me was my best way to prepare, was running a lot of routes. So I would look for the arms.
You can't go get a beer with a jugs gun like you can Matthew Stafford afterwards either.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, that ball didn't hit the turf that day.
Now, how do those sessions work? Are they like, or what's the vibe? Are they kind of chummy, or do they sometimes get a little like competitive and a little bit like
depends on who's there?
Or does any rivalries exist into those things where like, oh, this guy beat us last playoff, I'm going a little harder, I'm going to have a little bit of an extra edge.
Which sessions are we talking? Workout sessions or throwing sessions?
Well, explain me the difference first.
So, the workout session was literally at a workout facility. So you go to EXOS and you do like your plyometrics, your field work, your explosion work, weight room work, and then you would condition. That was like an hour workout. That was like fast tempo, constant competition. That was great because you do like all these, change of direction drills, and you were racing guys. So like it brought in, it brought up the intensity. You go do that by yourself. Yeah, you can be intense, but your adrenaline raises. At least mine does when there's competition. So, it can fuck up your technique, but you're going to be going hard. No. So, we would play against each other here and there, but like it was different. In the off season, we were all there selfishly to get better. So like you could put it away. There was
Truths.
Yeah. But like there was also, there are times where guys would compete and guys would get up in each other's faces. Like that's anytime you have fucking bunch of high strung fucking professional athletes, we were all competitors. So yeah, there would be shit talking in the weight room, like the weight and the workout shit. Usually our routes, not really. It was kind of like doing infield, showing off. Gotcha. Like when you used to do infield baseball, and that was your way to kind of swag out and show people your glove work.
The horses before the Kentucky Derby to trot around.
Yeah. So like
just
that
get
was
the ball over to first.
So guys would naturally compete through how they ran their route and the smoothness of how they cut, or their explosion in and out of a break, or their selling of a double move route. Like that was their way of like competing. We didn't have many one-on-ones. Like I think now I see one-on-ones. It was there really just for conditioning and like route technique. You know what I mean?
Do you ever learn anything about like another player from those sessions that you brought back into the New England? Be like, hey, you know what? Carson Palmer, take a look at this, or this is this, or are you just, that's not really the mentality that goes into those?
You talk with guys, but you also like, you wouldn't tell them everything.
Yeah.
If they were telling you everything, that's on them. This ain't no patient-client confidentiality.
Amen.
You tell me something close. That I think is going to help our team.
So if you're planning,
hey, coach, hey, he said this, we got to do this. It's copycat league, bro.
You ain't got no Hippocratic oath.
Plus, you're at the point, like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. What are you actually going to learn in that moment that's actually going to go to the next level?
You would take little things like on how guys like cut in and out of breaks, or how, they would sell something, head, shoulder movements, like that's the kind of shit you would take. Stacking the ball, tracking the ball, those types of things.
Was there ever a session earlier in your career, excluding Tom, that you were in one of those sessions and you're kind of the slapdick and some like hotshot, like big swinging dick guy was there that you're like, oh my God, like Randy Moss or Jerry Rice is here or something like that you got to learn a little bit from early in your career?
There's one time I think T.O. showed up to one of those UCLA things. And, I was a slapdick at that time, but I went 100 miles an hour always. I would look at them in awe, but you're in a point where you're like, you're still working.
Right.
Like that's how I did. But you'd watch.
Learn stuff.
T.O. used to go a lot to those. TJ used to go. They were like the bigger name guys, like that, the more established guys. There were young guys that were balling that were there, but
it wasn't like watching T.O. in person. Just his like freakish like body size, but speed combined. Just like
he was a little older.
Yeah.
But he looked the part.
He still looks a part.
Yeah. He's a freak.
Yeah. He's a freak.
He's a freak. He's a specimen.
I got two for you here, Jules. Say you're out, paint the picture here. Not in your home city. You're not in Boston. Maybe Miami somewhere. Out for a night out. You look across the bar. You see a dude you battled. You don't know him. Maybe a jet. Maybe a rival. You battled with this guy. You look across the bar. You lock eyes. Then a conversation starts and you kind of bury the hatchet and break bread with each other. Does that ever happen?
I wouldn't say break bread, but there's been
lack of a better term. Sorry.
There's been a few times where you see a guy that
you're not you run into him out somewhere.
Yeah, and you love competing against you.
Yeah, okay, I feel you. Keep it moving, type beat.
Keep moving.
Yeah, I feel that. And then
people looked at us differently though.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's beating the shit out of everyone. You know what I mean? Like you go to the Derby, you see the other teams there. We always went after like we won a Super Bowl and stuff.
Yeah.
People looked at us probably like we were arrogant assholes a little bit.
Hey, hate us because they ain't us.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I feel that. And then my other one.
But I used to be around a lot of the Bronco guys because I was with I used to train with TJ Ward and he'd always, we battled against each other.
I was gonna say that was the rivalry.
It was always fun. It was always fun to just talk shit.
I feel that.
But there was I always respected guys that work their ass off in the off season. So if I didn't like you, but I saw you working, I liked you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You can't knock the hustle.
You can't knock hustle. You can't knock guys that are trying to get better.
We talked a little bit earlier about the beauty of social media with helping guys stay in touch and connecting, and dudes you may have never crossed paths with, just being able to hit them up with the click of a button. Have you ever gotten one of those guys giving you, I like your game type vibe that like really meant something, or it made your eyes light up when you got that message? Like it came out of the blue.
Not really, but
I feel you.
You know, like Brandon Marshall, when I first started working with him, it kind of blew my mind how like I don't know if he was fluffing me, but he'd be like, Jules, I love your game. You're so like Brandon Marshall always used to hype me up.
The original Glazer, I like it.
He knew how to charm me.
Nice. I like that.
That's a good team.
Well, he's also that prototypical like number one wide receiver kind of vibe. Yeah.
That's right.
And did it for a long time.
Dude, at 31, I think he had like 100 and something catches.
Pro Bowl legend.
He was a monster. People forget about, it sucks that he never played in a playoff game because he had such an elite career. He had a crazy career.
That's insane.
And like he did it with the quarterbacks that were throwing it to him pretty consistently. He's like, wow.
Yeah.
He's a large man.
Oh yeah.
B. Marsh.
B. Marsh is
both in size and personality.
It is.
But I think it's also even more like with the players and friendships and stuff now, it's to an all-time high now.
Yeah, it's almost too much. Like you said,
it's almost too much.
It's too kiki.
It's a little too kiki.
I'm with you. I don't like seeing. It's weird to see as a fan. I want you to hate each
I mean, it's kind of we have a responsibility, man. Keep it like WWE. You guys could be boys in the off season and stuff, but like at least like we got to act like we hate each other.
Yeah, I don't keep up the illusion. You can't have
people that say you don't hate anything. Well, you ain't competing right then.
You can't have the Iron Sheik and the Hulk traveling to the event together. Everybody in the world sees them. The jig is up.
It's up.
I'm with you.
You know, Macho Man Randy Savage and fucking Andre the Giant didn't like each other, but they also showed that they didn't like each other in the ring either.
Amen.
I don't know where that. Yeah, I just saw that.
That was a great one.
Yeah.
So great segment. That was awesome.
That was
awesome. Insightful. Audience, more comments, voicemails of in-depth things you wanted to find out about the life of a professional athlete. Please let us know. The segment's awesome.
The hockey guys. You just got, I went and visited one of my boys in Toronto, JPR and Sebia. He was a catcher, took BP with them out there and ended up linking up with Sagan and the hockey guy. Those hockey guys. It's fucking, they're a different breed. PK Subban. Like I hung out with him. Like these guys, like they can go drink and then go like perform at a high level.
It's insane.
Well,
they're Bill Diffie.
A lot of them have been doing like the professional routine when they're teenagers.
Yeah.
Right. Not being at home, on the road all the time, practice and school and this and always like learning it. And then they become pros at being pros early as an
That's
early
a great
age.
way to put it.
They're pros pro.
And maybe just because I'm back in Boston and my homerism is coming out. But what other city is a NBA champion and 2 Super Bowl champions hood sliding out in LA together after years and years? What else? Who else is doing that? Nobody but Boston, baby.
Oh, Paul. I see him at work all the time. I say, Paul, we can't hang out. Paul, we can't hang out. Yeah. Last time we hung out, Bill took my captain away.
I'm sorry.
Wait, really?
Still too soon.
And if you want to know more about that story, there's 18 other episodes you can refer to get the ending.
Yeah, we're not getting into it again. And that was the Chill Zone. Thanks to our favorite beer, Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Visit CoorsLight.com/GWN and celebrate responsibly, guys.